Hey everybody, this is Mark Bozon, and I'm here to give you guys the video review for Moon for Nintendo DS. Hot off the heels of 2007's release of Dementium: The Ward, developer Renegade Kid is now finished with its second project, Moon. As you can already see in this introductory footage, Moon takes the world of first-person shooters in a really different direction from Dementium, replacing the zombie-infested hospitals with cold, cruel isolation found in Earth's neighboring mass. Right off the bat, players are also going to find a big change in the pace and design from Dementium as well. I'll say it right now, Moon is an adventure game with shooting elements intertwined in there. This isn't Halo, it's not Doom. It's actually more on the side of cinematics, presentation, and story than even Nintendo's own Metroid Prime Hunters for DS, which was as much a shooter as it was adventure. When all said and done, Moon is a really interesting game, and it all starts with a great story setup. You play as Major Kane, Chief of Military Operations for ETEO, which is Extraterrestrial Encounter Organization. After a hatch is found on the Moon, your team investigates, and as you can see here, things go terribly wrong right from the outset. From there, it's about traversing a number of hatches strewn across the world. Each one's kind of acting like a kind of a lone dungeon in its own sense, in a quest to uncover the truth behind the mysterious activity that's happening. On the technical side of things, Moon is simply beautiful. It's a technical masterpiece. And the game runs at 60 frames per second, which is ridiculous on DS. The lighting is well done. It's a little dark at times, but the amount of overall varied terrain, the complex geometry going on, really surpasses what a lot of people are going to think is possible on DS. That's the reason why we're showing it to you guys in single screen instead of dual screen. You know, panels light up, they animate, in-level machinery rotates, kind of bounces, and it really gives you this feeling of kind of a living, immersive world. You know, the stylus aim controls, the precision, it's all really well done. The only real gripe I've got with the game is its inherent repetitive nature, and it could be enough to have players shelving this game for a few hours and then, picking it up in a couple of days after the feeling of deja vu's worn off. Bosses often repeat, there's kind of a lot of waypoint chasing that's happening, and while Renegade Kid uses a classic design element to section off the world, basically each area has its own colored theme in there, in the same front-end rooms. Metroid did that a lot in the past too. It still ultimately feels like you're running down the same hallways over and over again. There's still a lot of things that really vary up the experience though too. You've got some really good balanced weapons. It's obviously a lot of time was put into it. And the rad remote access droid adds some really great puzzling elements to the game. Outside of being able to control this little device kind of like an RC car, opening up doors, moving Kane through the world, and a Resident Evil 0 kind of lock and key mechanic, the rad can also be used to combine with weapons. So you can drive over here with the rad, stun this enemy, then back up to Kane, and then deliver a killing shot with him really easily. If we ever see a Moon sequel in the future, it'd be really cool to see Renegade Kid kind of run with this idea and give Kane a lot of cool gadgets to use for exploration, because it was really a great concept. But while I mentioned the game's repetitive tendencies, there's also a lot of really good stuff going for it. The bosses are massive, there's plenty of player upgrades for guns and health alike, as well as these little artifacts that can be found. They actually unlock these Metal Gear Solid-like training missions. So even though the experience is single player only, Renegade Kid's done a lot to make Moon a must-play experience. Driving around on the surface is pretty fun, it's a little tricky, but the game seems to know also what weapons you're using all the time, so it'll drop the right amount of ammo based on what you're playing with. And on top of that, the little text logs that you can find throughout each level really give off this kind of diary entry feel to it. And they do a good job of not only telling the story that Kane's right now in, but you also get information on what's actually happening on the Moon, what other people have seen when they've arrived there, long before Kane's been there, and it's really interesting. Bottom line, if you're an adventure fan, Moon is a must-play and a great way to kick off DS's 2009. It may have some repetitive points, but it's a technical marvel, and it's a really well put-together package, so be sure to check it out. For my full written review, head on over to IGN.com.